Hi, my name is James. My book is called Going Dutch, and it's nominated for the Margaret and John Savage First Book Award. Richard looked out the window. April, and he was sure he could identify in the faces of the passing students a certain late undergraduate mood. The weather having turned sweet, exams just finished, and you're preparing for whatever plans you've made, a summer internship or humanitarian junket. But in the meantime, you feel accomplished and blamelessly lavish your days on nothing. Afternoon drinking and smoking pot, watching shirtless guys play frisbee, walking amid the blooming magnolias. Why have you not submitted anything? The intrusion of Antonella's sympathetic but firm question made Richard feel like a child poised for a lecture. I'm blocked, he said, nodding morosely. I just go in circles. There are tricks I can suggest. Across her forehead, a glossy fringe of brown hair was cleaved asymmetrically, and she wore a gray cashmere turtleneck tucked into Adidas track pants. On the desk, there was a plastic container full of untouched salad, one black splash of balsamic dressing down the side. Its sweet smell was filling the office. What do you have in mind? Richard asked. Acupunctures, therapies, mind games, maybe, Antonella said. Have you ever tried standing on your head? That could work. For a moment he looked thoughtful. He clasped his hands together in his lap. On the other hand, it might all get better tomorrow. A doctoral student in medieval Italian literature, ostensibly, Richard Turner had done little in the past months to deserve the title. It was a significant change. Not too many years ago, he was 29 now. He'd been a cultivated, slightly pedantic undergraduate, someone for whom a high GPA, prizes, bursaries, and glowing reference letters came easily. But lately he'd found himself blocked and unable to write, and in the face of this mystifying impotence, whose source he could not identify, all his efforts at maintaining a long-cultivated identity of academic competence and dependable accomplishment had taken on an air of pointlessness. Yet his solvency depended on remaining a student, and so he continued to show up faithfully at the library and to meet Antonella, his supervisor, in that cluttered office where they were now sitting. He felt like an imposter, an actor playing a previous self. Still, he decided, given that so few students continued to had ever bothered, to study what she taught, Antonella would be invested in retaining as many of them as she could. But her face stiffened. I will have to write the letter soon, Richard. I cannot in good faith write it without seeing any work. I understand, he murmured. His tuition and living expenses were covered by a fellowship from a family of degenerate industrialists with a deep presence in his hometown. The McClellans or the McLennans, he always mixed up the name. The long-dead patriarch had wistfully foregone a career as a professor of literature in order to accrue vast wealth, and had set aside a portion for the advancement of humanity, in the manner of Alfred Nobel. For the money to flow, the foundation required written updates from an academic supervisor every 6 months. Richard pictured the reader of these letters, no one he'd ever met, some loafing male heir, one of a group of scattered dilettantish progeny who dressed in Balenciaga and ran flailing subsidiaries, scrolling absent-mindedly through his phone at a Michelin-starred restaurant as he scooped pâté onto a fussy square of toast. Richard had always felt a condescending superiority to this handsome spectre, the same sort of condescension mixed with envy that most of his academic colleagues felt toward alarmingly rich people. There are others who could use the money, Antonella said, her crossed arms indicating a disinterested concern for the student body at large, the numberless deserving beneficiaries, while the vaulted eyebrows over her dark, clear, slightly amphibian eyes made her affection for Richard plain. He should have been much further along. Most of his immediate colleagues had graduated or moved into postdocs, a mellow encampment he'd also once considered his rightful destination. Instead, he was still auditing the occasional seminar, purporting to move forward with a thesis, but he hadn't written anything in months. The end was nowhere in sight. Will they continue to pay? Antonella asked, her apprehensive voice becoming jarringly conspicuous in the quiet room. I don't know, Richard said. I was going to ask you that. I'll delay as long as I can, and I'll get something to you as soon as I can. For the rest of the meeting, in a welcome but abrupt change of subject, they discussed their summer plans. Antonella would be returning to Italy for a wedding, an event she was not exactly looking forward to. Richard imagined he'd probably end up at some beer gardens. Otherwise, the summer was vague. He hoped to get a lot of work done. If he could manage to interest himself in any of the material he was supposed to be interested in, that is. None of it compelled him the way it used to, for whatever murky, idling reason. I'm rooting for you, Antonella said, smiling again. You'll come out in the end. For a moment he imagined that she would reach out and embrace him, but she didn't move. Thank you, he said, standing up. See you soon, Richard. He went outside and paused in the sun, waited as the students, changing class, whirled around him in energetic streams. Thanks for listening. Till next time.